guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we have a special guest with us again.
Special guest. I've been here before.
True. Okay. Anyways, Mayu is back. And for today's video, we thought we'd do something a little more serious / different. We're gonna talk about alopecia and what it is and how it affects you. And yeah, and we're talking about this today because Mayu over here has been struggling with that his entire life. And so I thought this is something that a lot of Tamil people, and not just Tamil people, a lot of people in general don't really know what it is. I didn't know what it was prior to me getting in a relationship with Mayu. So I just think it would be very educational, and he is older and someone that is confident now with it. So I thought if there is anyone struggling with it, this might be an eye-opener for them, and there is always light on the other side of the tunnel.
So alopecia is actually an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune just means that your own immune system is attacking your own body, so it's confused. Some common ones people do know are like eczema, psoriasis, and these are all cases where your own immune system is attacking its own body cells. In the case of alopecia, it's attacking my hair follicles. So when that happens, I get bald spots, and there are different grades of alopecia. So there's 3 different grades. First one's alopecia areata, and then there's totalis, and then universalis. So areata is just bald patches. Totalis is when all your hair on your head is gone, so that includes your eyebrows, your beard, your mustache, or anything, eyelashes included. And then universalis is your entire body becomes hairless.
And that's what you had?
I had a very severe form of totalis. I did have some hair here and there.
To be honest, I used to see him in the gym and I used to wonder why he was bald and why he didn't have hair on his legs, arms, eyebrows. Like, I used to wonder that. Obviously, I'm not going to go out and ask, so I just assumed it was...
This is before we were dating.
Yeah, I just assumed it was something that he was... I didn't really know what it was. And then when we got in a relationship... Well, no, when we started talking even, I wasn't comfortable asking him because I didn't know how comfortable he was because he never took his hat off. He never took his hat off. So I already knew he wasn't very comfortable with it. And so I didn't feel like it was my place, even though we were talking, to ask about it, until one day he had kind of brought it up and he was just talking about alopecia. And then I said, hey, if you don't mind me asking, can you just educate me on this and like how it works and how you struggled with it? And yeah, it was eye-opening. And then that's when I think I realized how insecure he was about it, which is fair because I think anyone that would go through this would definitely feel a certain type of way. And he had to experience this at a young age and kind of continued into his university life. So yeah, why don't you talk about how and when it first started happening to you and how that like made you feel?
I was about 11 or 12 years old. I found a spot in the back of my head. It was actually when I went to the barber. At the end of the haircut, he's like, hey, you know, buddy, you got a little spot in the back of your head. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I didn't do it. He was saying that he didn't cut it off. It was just there. I didn't really think much about it. I went home and I told my mom, and then obviously Tamil parents, they have their own ideas of what it may be. They called it like pulumetal and all that other stuff, which basically means ringworm or other stuff, because ringworm presents the same as alopecia with bald spots.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it continued for about a year, and then I went to Sri Lanka. They had a bunch of different remedies, herbs, oils, you name it. They had it, onions, everything. They tried all of it. Somehow, I don't know what worked because we tried so many things. And even before we went to we went to Sri Lanka, we actually went to a dermatologist and they gave us injections. It's a steroid injection. Now that was the common remedy they had at the time for alopecia, and so they would inject your head with needles. So I did that, and then I went to Sri Lanka, and then by the end of summer, because I went to Sri Lanka all summer, when I came back, it started growing back again. So then by the time I started, I think it was like grade 7 or something, I had all my hair back. So I was okay until about grade 12. It started presenting again. And I remember I got permission from my principal to wear a hat in school, and I was the kid that was lucky because I got to wear a hat in school. No one else could wear a hat in school. And anytime a teacher came up, I would just present the note, like, here you go. And it's all signed and everything by the principal saying Mayu's allowed to wear a hat. Again, it did the same thing. Within a year, it grew back. But then by end of first year, going into second year, it started becoming more severe. And I lost all of my hair, I think, by beginning of second year, mid-second year. And since then, I've been completely bald.
Yeah, like head to toe bald.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't even know that about him. I mean, I didn't know how much it affected him until obviously I got into a relationship with him. And then I started noticing how uncomfortable he'd get if I was like, why don't you take off your hat? It's hot. And like, he was never uncomfortable in front of me, but if we were out in public, he would never take it off. So I always just felt bad because I obviously I'm not in his shoes, so I would never know how it feels. But I know as a female, especially like if I were to have to go through like not having eyebrows or eyelashes or hair or whatnot, I know it's not an easy process. And for someone to have hair all their life, which he did, most of their life at least, and then from it to go from 0 to 100, I can imagine how devastating that can be. So why don't you talk about how you like dealt with your emotions during that time and how that made you feel?
To be honest, there wasn't much dealing with it because I kind of avoided dealing with emotions. It was emotionally traumatic. Obviously, I think it was like grade 6 or something when I got it, and kids would notice like, "Ma, you got a bald spot," and then I would be very, very conscious. I would constantly ask to go to the washroom so I can cover it because I had a little bit longer hair at the time, so I would go to the washroom, cover it, and I would make sure I won't move my head around so then the hair won't move and people would see the bald spot.
Know that.
Yeah, so stuff like that. I remember I came home and I cried my eyes out. I'm like, why is this happening to me? And then my parents, obviously they don't know how to deal with it. It's new to them too, as much as it is for me. I remember my dad, he's a very quiet, reserved person, but he came out of his way and he's like, why, it's okay. You're still a human being. You're still beautiful. Like, you know, you're still Mayu.
Handsome, fine, sexy, you name it.
He did not use any of those words. Anyways.
I'm saying that. I'm saying you are fine.
He said, do not worry about it. I got you. You're still Mayu. We're all going to look at you the same. It definitely helped, but obviously, like, it didn't help me in going out and talking to people and, you know, just being normal, just socializing in general. But obviously there was gaps between when I had alopecia and when I didn't. So in between those gaps when I had hair, I would socialize a lot. I would have so many friends. And then when I didn't have hair, I would purposely seclude myself and not go to parties, not go to events or get-togethers or whatever it be. I'd just be like, no, I can't come, I can't make it, whatever it is. So I remember I went on a, I don't even know how to say it, but I just didn't go out often. So
You kind of went MIA, I guess.
yeah, I went MIA. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like girls wouldn't like you because of it?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I think that's a very common thing to think when people form their identity around their hair, when their hair is there and they have this image of themselves, and suddenly that one part is taken out. It affects every single part of your life. That includes socializing with friends, but also with, you know, trying to talk to girls or trying to talk to the opposite sex. It definitely affects you, and it definitely gets you extremely, extremely self-conscious. So then it would just be like, I would try to talk to someone, and then I would just keep thinking, oh my, what are they thinking? What are they going to say? Why do they think I look like a freak? Like, you know, just things like that.
A sexy freak. I'm joking. No, but I never thought that, and I always thought he was so handsome and so fine. Okay, maybe not. To be honest, he was quiet. I didn't really know him like that. So when he first messaged me, I was like, oh, why is he messaging me? But I just fell head over heels for this human being. My next question to you is, if you know someone that is younger, that is dealing with this, that you wish you could have heard at that age, because I know, like, obviously when we were growing up, especially when you were growing up, because we have a 4-year gap, you obviously didn't know what it was, how to deal with it, what remedies you could do. I mean, there isn't any because it's an autoimmune disease, but just if you could hear something and say something to someone that's younger that is struggling with it, and what would you say, and what would you wish you have had heard at that age?
I honestly now, if I know, I can recognize who has alopecia, who doesn't, obviously. And if I do see someone, I don't usually, but I go out of my way to go and talk to them and say, hey, do you have alopecia? And they're really awkward about it, but I say, listen, I have it too, and I just take off my hat and I show it to them, and they like, their eyes, like they get, oh my God, you have it too. And I tell them, yeah, listen, I've been through it too. I know what you're going through. I know it. I know you're always constantly looking at the mirror. I know you're very self-conscious, but I want you to know that you're still beautiful. You're still you. You're not losing your identity. It will take a while to get used to, and I'm not going to take that process away from you. You need to go through that process of healing and of basically finding yourself again, even minus this hair thing. You know, and it does take some. It takes a while. It depends on everyone's self-confidence, everyone's self-esteem, because this kind of disease does take a huge blow to your esteem. Because alopecia has different triggers, and a lot of people are getting it through stress. Mm-hmm. Whenever everyone has a stressful pregnancy, yeah. So people get it often more often now. So it's more widely known, whereas back then no one really knew about it. So I didn't know how to explain it, and that was also part of the process where people would ask me, and I wouldn't know what to say, and I would be like, it's this thing, and I would just like mutter and then move on, right? So I just wish it was more widely known.
Right. Yeah. I do know people that have struggled with alopecia, but more like the bald spot kind of alopecia. Like, I don't know, what is the first one called, you said?
Alopecia areata. I'm not
sure.
Areata,
yeah. I think, but like it's more because of stress or like pregnancy and stuff like that. And literally it's like patches here and there. But like when a lot of people, there's steroid shots, and like some people do acupuncture. It works for some people, but like with his case, it never really worked because it was a lot more serious. But when you have small patches, you can definitely go see like an
acupuncturist.
Yes.
There's different triggers basically for alopecia. It could be related to your diet. It could be related to stress. It could be genetics. It could be anything really. But the thing is pinpointing that trigger, and that's what's the hardest part, because steroids work for some, but it doesn't work for all.
Yeah, and it worked for you in the beginning.
It did in the beginning, but after a while, the efficacy just really goes down. So.
Right.
There's a recent politician, she's really, really big, up and coming. I think her name is Ayanna Presley. She just came out with the fact that she has alopecia, and it was huge. It was huge for her.
And I love that. How have you dealt, or have you ever had to come across negative people making rude comments, and how have you dealt with that? Because I personally, I think... I'm not trying to be like pinpoint with just one community, but I do think that our Tamil community, some our older generation, I just feel like they don't have a filter, and they say some nasty things, and I just don't understand why. But I understand that that's our culture, and that's with our older parents' generation.
It's not to give them an excuse, but it is how they grew up.
Right.
Just seeing how they feel or seeing what they see.
Right. So like, what is it that you've heard and like?
Honestly, nothing to my face, but I've heard things through other people, like, oh, does he have cancer? Is he going through cancer? What's going on with him? Why is he so bald? Why he's so young? Why did he go bald so young? And then the thing about not having education about a disease like this is because they start to jump to conclusions thinking, oh, it's premature balding, or he's so young, he shouldn't. And this is the kind of the type of argument that I hear from the older generation of Tamils, which I don't blame. It's the natural thing they're going to look to, or they're going to think, because they don't know what alopecia is. So they're obviously going to think, oh, this guy's premature balding, this guy's balding so young, this and that. But I don't blame them. I don't have no hard feeling.
Now, how are you now confident? And how have you, like, how is it that now? He's wearing a hat right now, but like usually he won't be. It's just because he hasn't shaved his head. But how is it that like you're more confident now? And like, how did you come across, like, how did you get over it? I don't think you ever get over it, but you know what I mean.
Support systems, really. I mean, family, Durga really, really helped me a lot in gaining my confidence again.
Because he's so pretty.
Okay. Yeah, that's literally what it is. It's a support system. You can do it on your own. You definitely can, but it's a lot harder than if you had friends and family who support you and who look at you normally and treat you just the same as if you had hair. And that's what really helps, and with time, you eventually accept it.
Well, obviously you guys are probably wondering, because you're like, wait, what are you talking about? He has a full-out beard, he has a mustache, his eyebrows are halfway there. You guys are probably wondering, what the hell are you guys talking about? He doesn't have alopecia, or he doesn't have the full head-to-toe type of alopecia. Yeah, he does. Recently, I think in August, he started, he did his research. He does a lot of research, so big ups to him on that. But he did his research, and there was a drug, like a trial that was coming in Canada that started in the States for alopecia. I think they tried it out on people with psoriasis, and they noticed that people with psoriasis that also had alopecia, the hair started growing back. So he did his research, and when they introduced it to Canada, he went to his dermatologist. He said, hey, like, you know, I obviously have alopecia. Can I get on this trial? And they did, man, it was a hard and long process to get him on, like, get him in through the door, because they only pick a handful of people. And I feel like his time frame was coming up to the end, and somehow he got in, and now he's been on it. And ever since he's been on it, he takes 2 pills a day. His hair has been slowly but surely growing back, and that's the result of this. And it's actually growing back everywhere, so that's also a great thing. Disclaimer, I was against this in the beginning, and I still kind of have my hesitations and my I'm reserved about it, because we don't know the long-term effects of this drug. And so I didn't want him getting on it, but at the same time, if I were in his shoes, I would 100% be on this pill as well. So I can't be a hypocrite, and I have to be supportive of whatever he wants to do, and whatever you guys want to do too. So there is this pill. I don't know if you want to talk about maybe the trial name, what the pills are, and how it's affected you, and if there's any side effects that you feel now or anything like that.
Within the last couple of years, there has been several developments towards this disease. I think it's just because there has been more awareness towards the disease, but they found that it was by a pure accident. Actually, it was during another study. One of the subjects had eczema, and he also had not eczema. He had something else.
Psoriasis.
It wasn't psoriasis. I think it's arthritis. And he had alopecia as well. So the drug they were administering to him, it was for arthritis. But during that trial, his hair grew back, like, immediately, all of it. His alopecia reversed 100%. And so the researchers saw that, and they saw, they obviously pinpointed it, and like, what was it? And they eventually, through different other trials and other whatever they do, they figured it was this thing called a JAK inhibitor. It's a JAK inhibitor, but it's basically Janus kinase inhibitor. I'm not going to go into the biology of it, but that's what really helped in reversing the alopecia. So since then, they've been trying to develop drugs where they don't have the arthritis part of it, but they have just the Janus kinase inhibitor in it. And so the drug that I'm on is only a JAK inhibitor. Now there's different names for it. Every different pharmaceutical company has a different name for it. There's ruxolitinib or something. They have a bunch of different names for it. So that's the one I take. It's a different trial name. It's like CTP-500 or something. But that's the one I'm on. Thus far, no side effects, but we don't know. Like she said, there might be long-term repercussions. We don't know. But that's exactly what a clinical trial is. You take the risks that come with it. The thing is, though, another disclaimer is that they've noticed that because the trial is a year trial, and what they've noticed is that people who finished the trial and didn't continue on after with the pill started losing a little bit of their hair again. So the thing is, you have to be on it for the hair to continue growing. So they're still trying to figure out, obviously trials, this is what the point of trials is. You figure out why it happens, and you try to make the drug better and better. Obviously, I think they're like 5, maybe 7 years away from putting it on the market, but it is a huge market for this because they found that it also helps people with premature balding. So that's male pattern baldness. So it also helps that as well. And that's a huge market. That's $1 billion market, and this is exactly why they're going. The pharmaceutical companies only go after drugs that will get the money, and this is going to get the money. So, I hope I informed everybody of what it is and what I've been through with the disease. And be confident. I know it's much easier said than done. I know some guy on a camera told me be confident, I wouldn't have listened to him, but I'm just telling you, there are avenues to get better. Yeah, that's it.
How do you feel?
I don't know.
All right, guys. I hope you guys were able to get a little educated the way I was when I first got in this relationship with him. So I hope that we were able to help you guys understand what alopecia is, how it affects you, and what the steps are to take to get better and how to overcome it. If you have any more questions, let us know. And that's it from us. Bye, guys.
Peace.